Hey everyone, welcome back to Tea and Therapy. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about moving forward. I'm asked this quite a lot. How do you move forward when you've experienced things, and what is the best way to do that? So if you want to join me in this video, then please don't forget to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss future uploads, and don't forget to like this video if you've enjoyed it. So if you want to join me in this, then let's dive right in. So whenever we've experienced anything in life, whether it be a trauma, no matter what age we are, one of the hardest things is moving forward within that. A lot of the time when we've gone through, say, grief, etc., you're told the same thing. Time is a great healer. Just give it time. One step at a time, one day at a time. And all of those are true. However, it's not easy to always put those things into action. Now, if you've gone through something that's traumatic, a lot of the time it's very difficult to understand that it can affect your behaviour going forward because it feels normal. Like if we go through something and we then start behaving a certain way, it doesn't flick a switch and then we suddenly go, oh, we're acting differently. It feels very normal to us. And sometimes that can go on for some time and then it becomes learnt behaviour. And it's only when it's potentially called out by somebody or somebody notices it that you start to then go, well, actually, okay, this is something that I'm not comfortable with, and actually I'm noticing that I am being different. And that's when a lot of people will then come to therapy. But one of the main factors I get asked a lot is, okay, I get it, I get that that's why I'm doing this, but how do I stop that? How do I move forward from that? When you're dealing with anything that becomes a traumatic situation, whether it be you've gone through grief, you've gone through a traumatic event in your life, or whether it's even things that have happened in your childhood, because a lot of things are connected back. However, you don't necessarily always have to go back to move forward. One of the things I try to explain to people is that when we start to, if you think of your brain as a supercomputer and it's got a program running, now that program can change all the time. It goes from the programming that you had when you were a child. It then goes into, because there's 3 stages of development. There's from 0 to 7, I believe, 7 to 13, 13 to 21. And these are pinnacle significant moments in your life. So if things are happening around that time, they create quite an impact on how, in a way, your programming runs. And I call it a script that runs underneath. And that's that little voice in your head that will tell you you're not good enough, that you should do things a certain way. And especially one of the biggest things is what drives the fear. Every one of us has a fear of something. And I don't just mean a phobia of something. It's a fear of change, a fear of leaving somebody, a fear of rejection, a fear of being unloved, a fear of loneliness, a fear of death even. We've all got some level of fear. Because if we didn't, then we would just be going into life. And maybe there are people out there that just go into life and don't care, etc. But I'd still argue the fact that there's always something. And so moving forward is about working on what that is and how to change that. And a lot of the time we have to change the programming. So say, for example, you've had something that's happened at an event in your life, like say just before your birthday or just before Christmas or Mother's Day or whatever it is, something that's fairly significant. What you'll find is that when it comes to those dates, so for example, when it comes up to your birthday, when it comes up to Christmas, when it comes up to Mother's Day, you're going to then start reflecting on that event that's happened. And if it's a traumatic event, which obviously most of the time these things are around something negative in a way, whether you've lost somebody or some event, something's happened to you, it's significant enough that your brain has remembered it. In a way, I don't know why I'm holding this, but in a way, look at it as this. Your life has kind of gone that way, and then this trauma happens, and then you kind of then go this way. And then what can happen then is as you're going this way, something else happens, and then you go this way. Instead of going straight on, it's like you're going this way. And in a way, your whole life almost becomes like a spaghetti junction. And all you want to do is get back on track, get back on to this straight line. But you'll find that each time something happens, that you're getting further and further off track. The problem you have is getting back. And the only way to do that is to create a positive memory, is to create something that is positive, that overrides the traumatic event that happened to you. Now, I know that sounds simple, and it's not simple. Of course it's not, because it takes time to develop this. But in all honesty, that is the one way where you can move forward. So if you've had an event in your life that, say, happens hypothetically before your birthday, so every time you then come towards your birthday, you automatically go into that same feeling. Your brain remembers it and it reenacts the situation with the same feeling. So of course you go into this negative frame of mind a lot of the time, and some people don't. Some people create deflection and they just avoid it. But we're going to go with people that, say, are stuck in it. So because you're stuck in this negative memory, what you'll then do is your brain in a way will create like a bubble. So it will kind of go, well, we don't want to be around people. We don't want to do anything. We just kind of want to be in this moment. And so that is where you'll stay. If your brain remembers that and you stay in that and you're stuck in it, that is all you're ever going to know. So then when it comes around to the next birthday, it's going to be the same thing until you decide to get off it and to change it. And now a lot of the time this can take years. I have worked with people that have been stuck on an event that's happened to them for tens of years. And in their mind, their brain has created a scenario that tells them that they can't possibly celebrate their birthday. They can't possibly celebrate Christmas because of this traumatic event. And it creates them to stay with a voice that will go, well, if you celebrate Christmas, that means that you're forgetting your mum, or it means that you're forgetting your dad, or whoever it is, or whatever it was. You have to acknowledge this. So it creates you to stay stuck. The way to change that is to create a new memory, is to create something that is positive. And now it doesn't necessarily take it away straight away. You have to do this sometimes depending on who you are. Sometimes it can be one, sometimes it can be a few, but eventually it replaces the old memory, the negative memory, with the new memories, and then it changes the programming. And so then as you start to grow and change, you're going to start remembering that bad event less and less. You're never going to fully forget, because unless you have amnesia, it's going to stay with you. But you can certainly learn and grow from it. You don't have to go back and revisit and work through the trauma. You just replace it with something positive. And it's the same things in any event in your life, anything that's happened to you. For example, people that are fearful of getting into relationships is another one. I'm fearful of getting into a relationship because I've been hurt so many times that I now don't trust anybody. And that will then keep you in that same frame of mind if that's the way you want to be. If you want to get into another relationship, I mean, it might be fine that you don't, but it's important to be open and honest with why you don't want to get into another relationship. Is it, like myself, I'm perfectly happy to be single. I don't mind being single. I enjoy being single. And it's not because I want to go on loads of dates or anything like that. I just have my own space. I enjoy my time. I'm very busy, very fulfilled in my life. So I don't have a lot of time and energy, in all fairness, to give to somebody else, and that wouldn't be fair to them. So, but that's not to say that at some point in my life, when I choose to, if I feel like I want to have a relationship, that I then would make the moves to do so. So there's a difference between that to, I don't want to get into another relationship because I'm scared of trusting somebody again. Now, if something has just happened to you, then it's going to take time. Of course it is. No one's expecting you to jump straight into another relationship, albeit some do. And then unfortunately, they then make the same errors because they haven't worked through those things that have happened in the previous relationship. But if say you've been single for a few years and you're wanting to get into another relationship, but you're terrified, sometimes the answer is getting into a relationship. But the important thing is learning about what created you to make those mistakes in the first place. Why did you allow somebody to treat you badly? Where were the red flags, so to speak, the warning signs? And where were they? And then why did you bypass them? And it's also okay to be open and honest. It's also okay to be tentative. It's not about going in and not trusting somebody, because even though it will feel like that, it's not fair on the other person. But I feel that it's important to acknowledge that with them. Just say, even if you say to them, look, I like you, but I'm actually quite nervous in trusting somebody right now. It's not that they're an untrustworthy person. It's just that you're struggling to allow someone in. And that really is what it is. It's not necessarily that you don't trust them. It's that you're not allowing, or maybe it's that you don't trust yourself. You don't trust yourself not to see the signs and then get straight back into a similar situation again. So it's important that if you decide to work on a relationship or you want to be in one, go and speak to somebody beforehand. Make sure that you've got those things down. So then when something flags up, you can say to that person, you know what, that's a boundary and I'm not comfortable with that. And hopefully then if the person is respectful of you, they will then go, you know what, I'm really sorry. I didn't know that and I'm going to work on that. It's all about communication. But the biggest way to overcome that fear is to put your foot back in the water. And I know that seems scary, but sometimes it's about taking that risk. If you don't ever take the risk and you don't trust yourself, then you're never going to know. And that is how you overcome, because if you listen to most people that have had a bad relationship and then they meet somebody who is their ideal partner, they don't then focus on the bad relationship. They're fully invested in this wonderful new relationship they've got. And it's the same with friendships. If you've been bitten by a friend, I'm scared to have friends now. It is sometimes about taking that risk. And I know that I'm creating this to sound simple. And in layman's terms, it kind of is. But I also understand that actually personally, on a personal level, it's not simple. And that's why it's really important that you're working on yourself. Everything comes back to you. It's about you working on you. If you've gone through some level of trauma, then, it is about you putting yourself in situations that are pushing through the trauma. And I'm not saying do that straight away. It does take time. And in some ways, you'll know when you're ready. And some things will happen organically. Like, for example, like when I've said about the Christmas or the birthday thing, you might just suddenly decide to do Christmas. It will just, you'll wake up one morning and go, you know what, I'm going to do something different. And that means you're ready. And that's okay. It's okay to do it in your own time. You don't have to force yourself to do anything. You are in control of your own life. How you shape and do things is absolutely on you. Just because somebody else tells you it's not good enough or it's not acceptable doesn't matter. You do things in your own time. If you want something to change, you can be the one to change it. If you don't, then you don't. But if you want to know how to move forward, this is the best way. It is about building the courage to work on yourself, to create those little changes, to override the programming that stays stuck. Because if you stay in misery, that is where you'll always be. If your brain allows that, if you allow yourself to be controlled in that way, where you want to do something, but your brain is telling you it's best not to, or you're telling yourself, whatever it is, however form it comes out, or you're allowing other people to tell you that. Like, for example, well, no, we shouldn't celebrate Christmas because that was when our mum passed, or whatever it is. You might want to. And sometimes you do have to defy people to do something you want to do. And that's not easy, especially if it's family or even if it's a partner. But you have one life on this earth, whether you believe that or not, but fundamentally you do. And so you're either going to live that being controlled by others or even your own fear, or you're going to push through that. Because once you have, I can promise you, once you push through that fear of whatever it is that's holding you back, everything else will come into play. You won't feel so scared anymore. The problem you have is that when you have the big one, when you have something that's so traumatic that's happened, that your brain goes into, almost like your brain and body go into shutdown. and it terrifies you so much that you feel that it's better to stay away from it, and so you avoid it. And that's what people do with deflection as well. They avoid things. It's like, let's do something else because I can't face that. And it's okay to not face it, but at some point you will. At some point you will. But for those of you that say to me, how is it the best way to move forward with things? That is the best way. It's replacing things that happen. And even if you do something and you get a negative experience, instead of telling yourself, well, see, I tried it, that happened, now I'm not going to bother, don't give up. Because eventually you will have a great experience, whether it be in your life in general, whether it be in your relationship, your job, your friends, your family, whatever it is. And there's always exceptions to the rule, and I'm not saying that there are not. Whenever I do these talks, I understand there's always extreme circumstances that are not as cut and dried as that, not as black and white as that, where people have gone through the most horrendous things, and it's not as simple as then going out and changing something. I'm not saying that to be flippant. I understand that there are people out there that have been through horrendous things. This is just a general, I can't cover everything. You know, there are people that I work with that have been through the most horrendous things in life. And I certainly wouldn't say to them, come on, come along, you know, just change it. I wouldn't say that. This is just a generalization of, if you're wanting to move forward with certain things, and this is how you can do it. But allow yourself the time and space to also move through a trauma, to heal from a trauma. Because the healing has to come first. You know, you must heal through that to be able to then move forward. Because if you're not, then you're using deflection tactics to not look into what happened around that event. So it is important to give yourself the time and space and kindness to move through a trauma, whatever's happened to you. And then when you're ready, to come out the other side of it, and this is how you do it. So I hope that's made some sense to you. And like I say, I have the utmost compassion for anyone who has been through some of the things. And I certainly have heard some horrendous stories. And my heart goes out to anyone that's gone through something. And if you are going through something, then please do not go through it alone. Reach out to somebody if you can, whether it be someone in your connected circle or whether it's someone online. You know, there are always people out there. You know, you can even email me, and even though I'm pretty busy, I will try and pick up and help you if I can. You know, don't be on your own out there. So I hope this has helped in some way. And I look forward to speaking to you in the next video. So in the meantime, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel because it does help the algorithm. If you would like to treat me to a cuppa, because as in my other channel I do talk about, I also work with people for free if they struggle financially. I give them 6 to 12 sessions to help them. So if you are somebody that wants to go on my list, I do have a waiting list at the moment. If you want to go on my list, please drop me an email and I will put you on there. But if you can't wait that long, then please try and reach out to somebody so they can help you. So in the meantime, look after yourself, stay safe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.